All right, we are back, and it is less than 2 weeks until we are all converging into Rochester, New York for NICEGate 23. And when we talked about kicking it off with a few pre-interviews, I knew one of the first people I wanted on here, somebody who inspires me, I've known for a while now, one of the first people I met venturing into the author world, and is somebody I've watched and learned from and just get inspired every time I see her. And then when I saw she was going to be back in Rochester this year, I said, Connie Hamilton has to kick us off. So Connie, welcome back to the Stronger Together podcast, and excited to see you back in Rochester.
Thanks, Matt. It's always good to see you.
Yes. So you've been doing a ton of things. So we're going to just jump right into a few things. I know you have something new, so I always like to start with what's new and exciting. And before we started to talk about it, but I was like, we're going to save this to kick it off, because whenever you talk about your passion, your personality and light comes out. So share with the viewers what's new with you.
This.
Wow. Hacking group work. It looked thick too.
I know. Well, this is the hardcover.
Okay.
No one else
Nice.
buys. My mom buys a hardcover. I buy a hardcover. No one else buys the hardcover, but it stands up nicely. So
Nice. So tell us about that.
it was after I wrote Hacking Questions, which was just my big passion project, and I started doing a lot of work around questioning. It just seemed like a lot of the interest in the crossover between questioning and engagement was around how can we be more student-centered? How can we get students speaking to one another and engaged in productive struggle? And it just seemed like post-COVID, there was this whole challenge with getting kids to work with one another. And so group work was born.
All right. I like it. And you're going to be back in New York. You have two sessions. One is asset-based feedback on the 19th, and you have the invisible teacher on the 20th. So as people look through all the amazing sessions, share a little bit about those two sessions and what the participants can expect if they attend.
Sure. So in asset-based feedback, it is about focusing on what students can do and then building off of that. It's a deep dive in looking at the semantics, where sometimes we tend to focus on the deficit. Our brain is kind of wired to focus on the negative. And so looking for what students can do and then building off of that can sometimes be a challenge. So that's what that session is about, is just looking at the semantics. Like, what are we focusing on? The can do or the can't do yet? That's still can't do yet is still deficit thinking, because we're focused on what kids can't do, even if it is yet.
Wonderful. And now invisible teacher, that might scare some people. What do we have with
that? Invisible teacher, in the questions book, the invisible chapter was about what are students supposed to be doing during student-centered learning. And then in the group workbook, the invisible teacher is, what is the teacher supposed to be doing during student-centered learning? And so it's all about strategies so that we can keep the ownership of learning on the students as much as possible and resist the temptation to chase hands or overhelp during a time when the lesson is designed for students to be in productive struggle and to learn more from one another than from the teacher. So those are the types of lessons where we want to be slow to support and be really, really mindful about how and in what way that we quote unquote help kids.
And newsflash, we have a bonus session from Connie Hamilton at 3:15. Is it on the Monday?
Yes, Monday the 20th.
Monday the 20th at 3:15. What are you going to be presenting? It was so new, it wasn't even on the website yet.
That session is about 3 states of mind: emotional, rational, and wise mind. And it is about de-escalating high emotional scenarios. Most of what I learned that I bring to that is through my personal experience with my daughter as a mom. And And then as a principal, I began to notice how what she was learning through therapy was relevant when emotions were really high. And I was able to have some pretty good success with de-escalating emotions. So I thought, oh my gosh, I should share this with everyone. You can use this for your sister, your spouse, like the person who cuts in front of you in line on Black Friday, like whatever. You can use it anywhere that there are high emotions.
And one of the things that always impresses me with the work that you do is it's so practical. You can put it into practice when you leave Rochester. Granted, you're probably going to Thanksgiving, but when you come back, you can put it in practice. And one of the things, I actually read it today on Twitter, and I commented, somebody said, oh, I'd love to go to a tech conference. And my response was, well, this is an educational conference focused on technology. And everything you just talked about, you didn't talk about computers or tablets or AI. So how is your work infused into this supposed tech conference?
Well, I feel like the skills and the strategies that we have are universal. So when you're doing like standard kind of paper pencil, you're doing face to face, you're doing online, you're embedding tech tools, like you still in all of those scenarios, you want to be looking at what students can do and building off of what students can do. You want to
Hmm.
you want students to be engaged and be curious about the technology or the tools that they have to discover things on their own and be invisible. And certainly, I'm sure we all have experienced high emotions when it comes to technology. That's a
Sure.
stretch, right? But it's still true.
Absolutely. And if you don't follow Connie, her Twitter handle is down below. And if you want to hear and read some of the great work that she's doing, check out her website as well. I'm going to keep that up there as we continue on. Now, you shared us your new project, the project you're super excited about, but you have all of these great resources that you have either written, co-written, contributed to. Share about your work if people go to your website below, or the work that you do. You talked about being a principal, but now you do work to support educators across the country.
Most of the days of my work days in the year are, I mean, I do some workshops and conferences and that type of thing, but the majority of the days I spend in schools with very small cohorts of teachers on days that students are in session. And those small groups of teachers, I call it a sift process, and we observe. Every teacher on the team hosts a lesson at some point during the school year. So they all rotate. So on day one teaches in the morning, teacher two teaches in the afternoon, and we do a pre-brief, we do an observation where we are collecting data, and then we do a debrief where we share our data and then goes and grows. So it's job embedded professional development that is intended to support collective efficacy. Look at all those buzzwords I just threw
Yeah,
out.
super buzzwords, but critically important as someone who works in a district that
Mhm.
we crave that. And I think anyone who's watching or attends Nightscape or just visits the website below, you can see the practical work that supports students and learners. And now for you, speaking of learners, one of the things I've always tried to balance is being a presenter, and I'm going to be a presenter as well at Nightscape, but also taking in some new learning or learning about some new tools. Is there something you're looking to attend or learn going to the set to Nightscape?
Oh, yeah, there's always really great people and great presentations. I try to, there are certain people that I just admire, like you and Star Saxion has been there before, and Joe Sanfilippo has been there. Like, there's just people that I know that every time I'm in the audience, I'm going to get a nugget.
Hmm.
And then there are topics that are of interest to me. So one of the things that I want to do just to ramp up my efficiency is I know I'm underutilizing AI and what it can do for me as a professional. And so
Hmm.
that's definitely on my radar that I want to sit in a session or two about how I can use AI as a professional, just to make myself a little more efficient with what I do.
Awesome. And I know our next guest this evening, Alana, wrote, Generative AI, a great book and project. She's going to be there. I'm super biased. Carl Hooker wrote a book, Learning Evolution, from X Factor. So there's going to be a plethora of work that you can do and be a part of as well. Now, you talked about people. So we keep saying we're coming back together. We've been back together for a while now, How is it you're coming in from Michigan, correct?
Yes.
And traveling in, and what's it like to see friends again and individuals who you've met at conferences? Are you excited for that part of the event?
Yeah, I mean, the networking opportunities are great, and NiceGate does a really great job of offering opportunities for that networking. It makes it really easy for anybody. It's not like if you're an introvert like I am, it isn't like it sometimes you feel what kind of weird about walking up to
Hmm.
people or like inviting yourself or hey, what are you guys doing for dinner? And they
Right.
have events that are just mixers and they're intended to be social. And it's just a great way to connect with people and share stories and share experiences and learn and grow together. So it makes it really easy for any kind of person to just connect.
Awesome. So, real quick, give a quick kind of snapshot of all the work that you've done here because it encompasses so much. And for people who might just watch this for 15 minutes or go to a session and you may talk about one piece or another, share the real breadth of the work that you do. And of course, we get your co-presenter, the dog.
Yeah, right. I tried to give him a bone so he'd be
He's doing good. So,
the bulk of what like my passion and kind of in my jam is really about providing really specific and as you said actionable feedback. I'm really passionate about making sure that anybody that sits gives me their time, that they leave with something they can implement tomorrow. So I can be really theory based and research based, and I try to sprinkle in just enough to bring it credibility. But what is really important to me is that I'm not just outlining the problems, but that I offer multiple solutions so that teachers can pick and choose what works for them and their style, their content area, their grade levels, or whatever. And so when I'm preparing presentations, I spend a lot of time really thinking about the audience to
mhm.
make sure that they walk away with things they literally can use tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being our first guest over the next 2 weeks. Make sure to check out her sessions November 19th at 1:30. We have November 20th at 10:45, and then we learned on the 20th at 3:15 have another session as well. Check out Connie and all her work on her Twitter handle below or the website. All great things. And Connie, when I saw your name on the presenters, I was really excited because it's been probably since last night's skate. But I look forward to seeing you and
Me too.
everybody coming to Rochester. So thanks for kicking us off today.
Thank you. We'll have
Yeah,
some fun, I'm sure.
we will. And tune in for the next 2 weeks as we have multiple guests coming on. We have Alana, coming on in just about 45 minutes. And we're going to keep this going. We're going to post them. If you happen to not see us because you're watching the Cowboys or something tonight, or the Eagles, Carl Hooker would be mad if I said the Cowboys first. Make sure to check them out on a repeat. They're all live as soon as we go here. And we're all going to see each other in less than 2 weeks in Rochester. Connie, safe travels, and we'll see you there.
Thank you.